Well, good afternoon. If it's Monday at 3 o'clock, it's Mondays with Michael live here on Facebook. Thank you all for coming into the room here and checking out the chat. For those of you watching this post session, thank you for checking out the post session. Our session today is on peer-to-peer accountability. As you know, over the last few weeks, we've been going through this 5 behaviors, 5 steps to a cohesive team. And we've talked about 3 of those steps already. We've talked about trust, how important trust is as the foundation of a cohesive team and why trust is important. I'll give you some tips about that. We talked about healthy conflict and having good conflict, this passionate debate of ideas. And then last week we talked about commitment. Once we've had this passionate debate of ideas, it's ready to commit to a team decision. Everybody needs to have a chance to weigh in, to buy in, but everyone needs to commit to that decision. So today we're going to talk about accountability, peer-to-peer accountability. But before we get there, a little commercial. As you know, we've been talking about it on October 18th here in Tyson's Corner at the Westin. At lunchtime, October 18th, we're going to have a showcase about this program, the 5 Behaviors program. We have the team from Wiley kind of coming out, talking to some of our clients about the program, how to use the program, how to move the program forward. We have a few seats left. So if you'd like to be one of our guests, message me here on Facebook, either through the messenger, or send me an email, ferraro@trainingsolutions.com. Well, let's talk about accountability, peer-to-peer accountability. And when we get to this program, this module is probably the toughest module when I teach this program. For the basic reason is you're changing the accountability model within an organization. Old school model of accountability was the boss is really who I'm accountable to, because the boss does my year-end evaluation or quarterly evaluation, gives me my raise or doesn't give me my raise, gives me my time off. If I'm coming in late to the work one day, they're the ones that I have the relationship with. And though I like my coworkers, they seem to be very nice people, I don't feel that they should be holding me accountable for my work. My accountability really comes from the supervisor. So this is an interesting module as you go through this module with the team, because this is all new. How do you take that mindset from a boss-employee accountability to peer-to-peer, team member to team member accountability? So as always, we're going to go through our assessment. I'm going to take a look at my notes here. The assessment does measure how the team feels about this accountability, and there are 4 areas that we start looking at. So the first thing we look at is team members offer unprovoked constructive feedback to one another. Now, in most teams that work together, if somebody on the team does something really well, kind of takes a step above, out of the box, and does something really great for the team, most folks have no problem saying, "Hey, Mary, great job," or "Hey, Johnny, nice job," patting that person on the back a little bit. Pretty much happens, not all the time, but should happen at least once in a while. It's the other side of that. It's when Johnny or Mary doesn't hold up their end of the bargain or doesn't hold up their end of what's supposed to be done. How do you have that conversation? So team members offer unprovoked constructive feedback to one another. Great teams are able to call out members' poor performance or unproductive behaviors. And again, this takes practice. How can you call somebody out that hasn't lived up to expectations? So the team assesses that. People want to know what others think so they know if they're doing well or doing poorly. Second thing we look at is the team ensures that members feel pressure from their peers and the expectations to perform. So a cohesive team, like any really solid team, you want to make sure that you don't let people down. You want to perform so that you don't let your teammates down. So you tend to step up your performance a little bit, just to make sure you don't let team members down. So more than policy or system, there is nothing like the fear of letting down respected teammates that motivates individuals to perform at the higher level. So that's the second thing we look at. The third thing we look at is team members confront peers about problems in their respective areas of responsibility. Effective teams, members are able to confront one another when things aren't going well. So even if you need a little help on your job, you're able to go to someone else on the team in an open, honest discussion and say, "Hey, listen, this isn't really working for me right now. I need a little help here." Back to what we talked about in trust. I need a little help here. Can you help me out? People have a better understanding and appreciate one another's roles. That's the third thing we look at. And then the last thing we look at from the assessment standpoint is team members question one another about their current approaches and methods. So again, it's getting that feedback, that critical feedback to say to someone, "Hey, I see you're doing this way, and I think we can do it better. Let's talk about that a little bit. I think we can try this a little better." So it's having those conversations. So team members know their colleagues are truly committed to the common goal and ask questions of one another without fearing defensiveness or backlash. Again, when you have the team's best interest in mind, and I have your best interest in mind, and you have mine, we can have this frank peer-to-peer conversation about doing the job better for the benefit of the team. Team members understand that everything fits together, and people are prepared to answer inquiries. You actually welcome this kind of feedback. So those are the things we assess in the classroom. Those are the things we talk about and have a deeper dive discussion within the classroom. But then we look at embracing accountability. Our ability to hold one another accountable could improve if we challenge one another too. And then there's a list of things here I'm going to read off to you that we take a look at. And the team assesses which one of these is getting in their way. So it could be call one another out on unproductive behaviors. That's one thing that could be holding the team up. Giving one another feedback. And we actually have this activity in the classroom and teaching folks how to give feedback. The feedback activity we do in the classroom is based on positive feedback, but we also talk about how to give critical feedback to team members. But it's an interesting activity. Everyone gets up and kind of interacts with everybody, and they share 2 or 3 things, positive things they feel about this particular employee they bring to the team. And we kind of do what I call it kind of speed dating. People walk around, spend 3-4 minutes with each other, and then they go to the next person. And by the time the exercise is over, everyone's had a chance to give feedback to everybody. Now, granted, it's positive feedback, but you're getting into that habit of giving feedback to one another. Another thing that may get in the way of embracing accountability is having clear priorities and goals. We've talked about this in Module 1. If the team does not have clear priorities and goals, it's going to be tough to hold people accountable. Have more efficient and productive meetings. Again, we've talked about this before. We work a lot of teams that have very poor meetings. Get-together is more of a social activity than an actual meeting. We work with teams on having, and team leaders on having effective meetings. We do a whole program on effective team meetings. But even in this program, we have this deeper dive discussion around team meetings. And then there are certain other things we take a look at. Being more direct, publicly sharing goals, and of course, the ever popular one I like to talk about in this part of accountability is spending more time together. We work with a lot of teams that don't spend social time together. They work and go home. They work and go home. Now you don't have to spend social time together to be a cohesive team, but teams that tend to get along a little better do something socially together. It could be going to the baseball game or to the football game. It could be going bowling. It could be going out to dinner on a Friday night. It's getting the families together for a picnic. When you get to know people a little better and you build that trust a little better, you can hold people accountable a little more. And some teams, that number is really high, and in some teams, that number is non-existent. I worked with a team recently. We talked about spending more time together. They said, you know, Michael, we spend enough time with each other. We don't want to spend any more time with each other. I thought that was kind of strange, but I think they're thinking about like maybe going to lunch one day. So I think it'll be a good step in the process. So let me get to the action planning part of the session. And as always, there's 2 action planning parts of this particular program. There's individual action planning, what I can do for myself, and then there's team action planning. And so we do the action plan based on the results of the team scores, and they look at things they do well and things they aren't doing that well. And we build an action plan. We build an action plan based on that. But then there's what I want to do individually. How do I practice this peer-to-peer accountability? Because this is going to take some practice. So a team that embraces accountability right from the assessment ensures that poor performers feel pressure to improve. Like I know that if I'm going to slip up a little bit, that Mary and Joe are going to come to my office and say, "Listen, Michael, we're really hoping that you would get this thing done in this way, and you kind of let us down a little bit. Can you help us out a little bit?" Second is identify potential problems quickly by questioning one another's approaches without hesitation. So again, if I feel I'm not really approaching this process correctly, they're willing to share and give me that feedback. Establishes respect among team members who are held to the same high standard. And again, this is a peer-to-peer thing. It's just not a boss-to-peer thing. So it's not a boss-to-employee thing. So we're not waiting for the boss to call me out or to make sure Michael's doing his job. We can do it ourselves back and forth. And avoiding excessive bureaucracy around performance. And a lot of companies we work with have an extensive performance management process, discipline process. We can get away from some of that by doing this peer-to-peer accountability. So that's Module 4, accountability, peer-to-peer accountability. Module 5 is all around results. We're going to be talking about team results and not individual results, and how sometimes they get in the way of team results. That'll be next week, Monday, the 8th of October. So I just want to remind you, the 18th, we have that event in Tyson's Corner. So again, thank you for popping in. This is Mondays with Michael live on Facebook. I see we're coming up to the top of the hour. Thanks to those who are in the room today. I see some of you in the room. Thanks for hanging out. You can watch this here. I'm going to put it up on Facebook in a couple minutes, and hope to see you next Monday. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.